Did things get better, or did they get even worse? Today's ReZero episode showed Subaru's new power, answered quite a few questions, but brought even more with it. Let's get right into it. Subaru wakes up to Beatrice's concerned face, and he informs the group about what happened in Raid's book. That rather than being sent to Raid's memories, he was sent to Rui Arneb. Julius enters the scene and informs Subaru of the hordes of witch beasts attacking the tower. Subaru comes to a pretty similar conclusion that I did last episode, that it had to do something with the gluttonies. I mean, I don't think there's any other options, right? I think my thoughts may have been a little flawed, because the thing is, Charlotte didn't transform into her killing mode, which we now know this episode 100% that this scorpion is her. I mean, it was pretty obvious from the first time we saw it. When Subaru leaves the tower in episode 9, Charlotte immediately collapses to the ground, and that didn't happen when the witch beast started to attack the tower, so she just went to fend them off. What I think is most likely is that either one of the brothers used an ability to attract them, maybe like a version of Subaru shouting he could return by death, but on steroids. So the horde and the broken rule may be caused by the gluttonies, but they're not from the same thing, which could also be the case with the tower collapsing, because it may be that breaking the rules of the tower simply just sets Charlotte to killing mode and doesn't do anything else. Later on, we'll see maybe that breaking the rules of the tower could actually harm the gluttonies overall. Moving past the opening, we see Charlotte machine gunning down swaths of witch beasts. Subaru asks Meili to help fend them off, and there really isn't much I could say about this, but it looks okay. During this, Subaru specifically notes that in the previous loop, they didn't have Meili to help contribute, and her presence prevents Julius from possibly being overwhelmed by the witch beasts and Raid at the same time. As the scene goes on, the group realizes that they need to check on Amelia and Ram to see their situation, and on the way they run into Ram riding Patrash with Rem. Ram tells them to stand up. Subaru then pauses, likely thinking about the similarity between the two sisters. Amnesia Subaru wouldn't have known this, but Ram says a similar thing earlier in this arc in episode 3, telling Subaru to stand. She even mentions Rem's name here too. Ram then tells the group that she ran into one of the gluttonies, and that she had forgotten Amelia's name. I want to bring up something here that I found interesting, which is the decision making by the gluttonies. Now, my original thoughts for why Rai didn't eat Krush's name, just her memories at the end of arc 3, was because she was a royal candidate, and that it would cause a many number of issues in the kingdom, which would not go unnoticed. Or because their gospel specifically told them not to, because they would do anything to satiate their hunger, and Krush is a massive name to eat. I lean more towards gospel now because they ate Amelia's name, but it also could be that they're trying to force a reset out of Subaru perhaps. Regardless, I thought this would be worth bringing up. There's some pretty good mechanic building here with Ram's headaches in reaction to her thinking about Amelia. Beatrice claims that the gaps in her memories for important people in her life and thinking about them were causing this headache, which I think is pretty interesting. The brain attempting to autofill for one person would be hard enough, but the more people in your life lose their names, it becomes even more difficult. Even if you aren't a direct victim of gluttony's powers, the people who've made you who you are can be slowly stripped away from you. This makes it one of the most terrifying abilities in the verse in terms of existentialness, I guess. That an entire person's existence can be reduced to nothing. Ending this scene, Subaru says he'll go ahead to Amelia. And for this shot, I'm not sure if it's because most of the episode's presentation was pretty standard, but Ram's eye here looks really good, and I really like how her voice actor spoke in this very raw way, showing you her unfiltered anger. Moving forward, there's some pretty good fight choreography here between Rai and Amelia. Subaru arrives, and as we know from last episode, he is the gluttony's main dish. He's pretty much a buffet of memories if you think about it. It goes without saying that Yusuke Kobayashi's voice is as good as always, but one small issue I have with the fights across this episode is that there's stuff that just interrupts the pace. I'm not a director or anything, but I think it just gets paused here a bit too much during the fight for Subaru's proclamation. And is it me, or in this segment does Amelia's voice sound really high? Alright, I'll stop nitpicking. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, try sticking around for more and consider subscribing to the channel. That's all. As the battle goes on, Julius leaps into the fight, tag teaming with Amelia, and the animation continues to be pretty solid. We learn that Rai is actually able to use Ice Brand arts, so he doesn't even have to eat a person's memories to gain their abilities, just their name. It's interesting how Rai's line here serves as a reflection of Subaru's insecurities. You said all that about not forgetting here, but you're standing there watching and feeling frustrated. It reminds me of how Subaru called himself all talk. It plays on his feelings of worthlessness and how he feels like he's baggage to other people. Right after, Raid shows up. I'll get to his reveal at the end of the episode later, but Raid does a rather one-sided beatdown of Rai. Julius and Amelia start to duel it out with Raid, but Rai stands back up to interrupt them. At this moment, it shows Subaru's power, which is essentially like spectator mode, allowing him to see other people's odes perhaps? Maybe from far away, which allows him to somewhat lately dodge the Scorpion's attack. The gore here is pretty good, and overall it's been pretty consistent this entire season. The Scorpion charges its beam up, but before it could blast Subaru, Satella collapses the floor, which may also be related to the breaking the rules of the tower, but it also could just be connected to another confounding variable to all of these events. The death here though is pretty hidden. It's not quite like when Satella found Subaru in Arc 4 and consumed him but left him alive. I'm aware of some cut content, as I think I mentioned before, and I believe it's because the Witch of Envy appeared in Arc 4, and here Satella appeared for what I would explain as a mercy kill or a forced reset, which I think throws even more questions into the pile for Satella. Subaru then wakes up in the archive, marking a new reset point, which he actually hasn't been fully aware of that there are multiple starting points until now. Julius appears with urgency just like the last loop. Subaru drops the information of the Archbishop of Gluttony, and Echidna throws a little suspicion towards this. But obviously, it's not the time for that. He also tries to hide his extraordinary knowledge under the guise of Gluttony having told him. This time, Subaru moves with a bit more expedience, and sends Melee on her own to assist Shaola, and sends Julius to confront Raid. He meets up with Ram, but a bit sooner on the timeline, as she hasn't forgotten Amelia yet. They quickly head to the scene, this time with Ram to help, and Rai speaks to Ram and Subaru with Rem's memories. Bro really tried to LARP from Zero, then got shot in the eye before he could finish. Ram makes this pretty interesting comment as she saves Amelia from Rai's strike. Curiously enough, when Subaru uses his new power to view Julius, we can't see an icon for Raid, which could be something that hints at the reveal later. Also, when he views Rem and Aridna, there are 3 icons just showing that Anastasia is still there too. Not sure if there's any significance to the colors they appear as it seems to be either their eye or hair color for the most part. Moving forward, Rai leaps at Subaru to try to eat his memories, but then he is absolutely obliterated by the Scorpion, which leaves me to believe that Shaola transforming may not have been part of their plan. I think he got targeted first over Subaru because of his stronger scent, because shortly after, Subaru is the next target. I think the reason Melee is fine is obvious to most, as I think her Witch Beast control abilities helps her there. Subaru knows the Scorpion as Shaola because she has the same icon. The party is able to fend her off, and they've sustained minimal injuries because of Subaru's knowledge of previous loops. Amelia questions Subaru's extra sight, and Beatrice attributes it to an authority. Based on that assumption, I think this is Subaru's great authority, that he gained at the end of Arc 5, made manifest. After Rai's death, the party makes the unfortunate conclusion that Gluttony's defeat is not enough to return memories to people who have been eaten, which is because I think they're stored with Rui. Then, Julius, battered and bruised, makes an entrance from the upper floor, and we finish off the episode with a reveal that Raid Estrella is Roy Alphard. I'm unsure if this is the case with the Raid Estrella we see in the beginning, as I think he may be properly part of the tower's trials. My initial thoughts on this are that Roy absorbed the memories from the book, and this makes him able to assume the abilities and appearance of Raid Estrella. This, I believe, would explain why Raid's book sends Subaru to the corridor of memories, instead of Raid's memories. I think it would be like a failed directory on a computer. And the Gluttonies use his powers in tandem with it being a trap for Subaru to lose his memories by the hands of Rui. Finishing up here, I realized I forgot to put my episode ratings at the end like I did for the beginning of the video series, but I don't really see a point. I mean, there's obviously a difference between the strength of direction, animation, and other factors between viewing episodes, but I think of them holistically. It doesn't really make sense to rate them individually, especially since Re:Zero is a show that builds and builds upon itself as it goes on. Because using logic of individuality would be unfair to set up episodes that set up for very amazing things. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, I recommend liking and subscribing to our channel. And if you have any comments, critiques, or other thoughts on the ideas I brought in this video, please comment them down below. Thank you for watching.